Philly servicing over love, support, grace, social activism, and art. I am the assist, African support, strength, inspiration, and success together. My co-host, my family, my right-hand sister, Nick, Raw Cannon, the queen. The master. Even though whenever I say she the master, she always, I'm still working on myself. It's always a dope thing when other people can tell your story in a real way. You know what I'm saying? So I tell my sis story because that's a major accomplishment. You could feel however you feel about the American education system and what are they educating us for and what does a master's degree really mean and all of that good stuff. But it still take a work process to get there. Because otherwise everybody would be doing it because it cashes in money-wise, materially. If you can pull up on somebody and say, I got a master's, that's actually a price tag attached to that. So if it was something that anybody can do, everybody would be doing it. So even if you question the American education system, matriculating through the American education system still takes a certain amount of information, discipline. Even if just going to school every morning takes a certain amount of discipline. You know what I mean? Retaining information, because a lot of American education is just memorization. You don't learn that critical thought really comes into play until you get to college. And that's the reason why a lot of us make it 2 years, a year. Yeah, it'd be finances, it'd be instruction, it'd be coming from a family where nobody ever been to college. All of that is a part. But one of the biggest parts is all through school, they told you were smart if you could remember shit. And it's not a real thing. And then when you got to college, they told you had to have critical thought. So you had to, critical thought comes into, what's the best time should I go to sleep if I know I got to be up at 8 in the morning to go to a class? And I want to be at my top. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure I'm not groggy in the morning. I'm not fighting to get out of bed. That take critical thought to figure out what your rest going to be like so you can go to school. But also figure out, how am I going to study? What's my studying habits? Like, how do you matriculate through college? Should I build a relationship with my professors? Should I try to build a relationship with the dean? Should I build a relationship with some upperclassmen or get in a fraternity or sorority to get support while I'm at school? Should I try to find all the people that's from Philly or from New York or whatever and see if that's the way that I'm going to make it through? That shit you got to figure out on your own a lot of times. But the biggest thing be going from memorization making you smart to actual critical thought making you smart. Because critical thought is what actually makes you smart. And the reason why critical thought is an important thing, because the other question about being educated and matriculating through colleges and all that, are you using your education for your self-preservation? Or are you using it to feed somebody else's family? You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot. And I know college grads that's feeding other people's families. Masters feeding other people's families. So it'll be like, damn, is this person really smart? You know what I mean? It's a confusing thing at times. But I like to say that about my sis because she is a mom. She is a queen. You know what I'm saying? She's a wife. She's somebody's sister. She's somebody's cousin. She's somebody's best friend because she got dogs. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all the cannons. You know what I mean? So this woman is a very fully dimensional woman. You know what I mean? So when she don't, like right now, she's doing her job. She's helping a vet. She works at the VA, and her job in particular is to help homeless vets find housing, which is crazy to me that a vet would need housing at any time. You know what I mean? And somebody that's not in the military is the person that's helping them. You mean to tell me they don't have no military caseworkers? People that been through the military that can associate with this person in some way to say, ain't no way I'm going to let this man or woman who signed their life over to fight for this business, there's no way I'm going to let them ever be homeless if they were willing to sign their life away for this business called America. But then, it being a business is why a vet can end up homeless. You know what I'm saying? Because businesses, they're about return on investment. You know what I'm saying? They're about meeting the goal. What is the goal? The goal is to make money. The goal is to franchise. The goal is to spend the least amount of money and make the most. That's the goal. Oh, and the other thing before we get into, I'll let y'all know who this brother is. He's been on the show a couple times, you know what I'm saying? He got his hat all on because he don't want y'all to know who he looking like. And I'm like, damn, that's Ball. Like, nah, that ain't me. It's not me. I'm Rue, and this is Zoo. You know what I'm saying? Right. But something I thought about last night? A brother asked me my name, and I said Mas. And after I said it, I was like, damn, like, why did you feel the need to say that your name was Mas this time? Because I tell people, my name Rue, my name Jarue. I love the name Jarue. because I'm named after my uncle. You know what I mean? And my uncle was a dope, real nigga. He was wild. He did a lot of shit that I wouldn't have did, and I learned from him. But I got a lot of him coursing through my veins, and it makes me the man that I am. You know what I'm saying? And I also love your name, Jarue, because it was the alternative to Leroy, because that's my dad's name. You know what I'm saying? So I love the name Jarue purely because I was named Jarue and not Leroy. You know what I'm saying? But I felt the urge because I'm like, I just felt like that's where I'm at in my life. That, like, you know, that's a real part of who I am. And the things that I do now, how I live my life now, it's Jarue, because my name is Jarue Masamakali Orji Tamojua, and you'll know why that name is important when this brother start talking. And if you've seen the show with our elder on here, you would know why that's important. You know what I'm saying? And I'll let the brother explain a little bit more about why the name is important, you know, the last name, the whole having the name. You know what I'm saying? Why is that important? For black people in particular, but definitely black men like us. You know what I'm saying? Because black men, you know, we come from different backgrounds, different things, but we deal with a lot of the same things because we are black men. But there's a lot of different perspectives on how that these things happen and what should we do and how should black men operate. You know what I mean? So I say that about my sis because she's amazing. And most of the black women around me are amazing. You know, some of them don't even know. You know what I mean? And it is my job to allow them to know, you know? So, and then I say what I say about my name because it was a thing, like, you know, the brother asked me and I just was like, yeah, my name Mas. And that's a normal thing. It ain't like it is, but I haven't been telling people so much, you know, my name Mas and my name Masa McCallie, you know, and even the Mas part, it was easy, but I felt it. Because I kind of want people to say Masa McCallie. If you going to say, just say Masa McCallie. And I'm going to say it for you a couple times. It's Masa McCallie. Masa McCallie. So for all you black folk who don't like African culture, so you try so hard not to pronounce nothing African right. But you can pronounce an Arab name so, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a thing to me. I don't understand. So I'm going to say it a couple more times. It's Masa McCallie. Masa McCallie, Masa McCallie. And the name means sharp eye. And it's Tanzanian. And Orji means strong or tall tree. That was given to me because of my stature. You know what I'm saying? And then Tumojua means one family. That's Zulu. You know, Zulu, South Africa means one family. Because, you know, that's how we look at the world. You know, my sister, my little sis, the queen, another queen in my life, she was like, what are we doing? She asked me this a lot. And when she do ask me, I don't play around, put it in my head. Sometimes I'll be playing. I'll be like, it's like Pinky the Brain. We taking over the world. We're making a plan to take over. I don't know anybody ever watched. I didn't really watch Pinky and the Brain like that, but I just like that little part. We're taking over the world. That's what the plan is. The plan is to take over the fucking world. Like, I'm figuring this shit out. Because my thing is like, why can't a black man be really running the world? And I ain't talking about Obama. Because he wasn't really running the world, to be honest. Because he couldn't even do shit for black folk in no demonstrative way. I'm going to just say that. I know y'all not going to like this. But I like to say this because when George Bush was the president, he said, fuck what y'all talking about. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do. When fucking this dickhead dude, who I actually liked him being the president, fucking Trump got up there on that joint and said, oh, I'm the leader of the free world. What? Y'all fucking crazy. Y'all, man, fuck you niggas. Fuck the rest. You know what I'm saying? Like, Trump said, fuck it. Mm-hmm. And they talking about he about to be the president again. But when Obama got up there and all the statistics say that the people who doing the worst is black folk. So you ain't even got to compromise this shit. The people that you battling with, that you say, oh, the Republicans wouldn't let me do nothing. They know the fucking statistics. Mm-hmm. So you should have been like, man, fuck y'all. I'm doing whatever I'm going to do, and y'all just going to have to change that shit. So Obama wasn't running the world, y'all. He wasn't the first black man to run the world. But I am. I'm going to be. But they don't like black people doing international politics. So, you know, if y'all see me riding around in a bulletproof car and wearing vests and having security and shit, that's because the people don't like when black people start talking international politics. I'm just saying. But I'm not. I'm going to just go get the bulletproof vest and I'm going to go get the bulletproof car and all that, and I'm going to keep talking the shit that I'm talking. But I'm a nigga that did 20 years, so they think, yeah, nigga, this nigga ain't going to make it that far. He going to be back in jail before that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm all right with that. My fault, too. I'm knocking shit down, breaking shit. You know what I'm saying? Can we put that right there? Can we do this again? So that was like a rant. I didn't even see that Obama joint coming, but Obama burns me the fuck out. I'm just being honest. And I gotta say this: why is Michelle looking so light on these posters for this book tour? I need to understand that too. It was the first dark-skinned woman to be in the White House. We rolled. One of the reasons why I almost went for Obama is because he had a dark-skinned wife. And black motherfuckers don't get dark-skinned wives. Not the ones that become of any note. We don't do dark-skinned women when we get at level. They got to be light-skinned or they got to be foreign. Or they got to be white. You know what I'm saying? You can't get money in America and have a dark-skinned woman as your wife. Look it up. And it's funny because all the motherfuckers that got white wives, as soon as you Google them, they put that as a part of they. I'm not looking to see who his wife is, but they let you know, like, look, this nigga got a white wife. And they don't gotta hide the ones that got dark-skinned wives, because none of them got dark-skinned wives, so they don't even gotta hide it. You know what I'm saying? Yo, this shit, you can't make this shit up. But anyway, so this is Philly service announcement. I am a little hyped because my brother on here, I ain't gonna lie. You know how corny motherfuckers, when they know they got people behind them, they be extra. I'm one of them corny motherfuckers. I got my brother in the building and y'all not gonna do shit to him. He's like, nah.
Right. That part.
You know what I mean? But listen, I want my brother to go ahead and, introduce himself, let y'all know who he is. And I like to laugh. I like to joke. I'm always gonna be like that. But I don't gotta tell y'all we serious, man. You know what I'm saying? And I try to only move with serious men. You know what I mean? So, let them know.
Hey, my name is Zuberi.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said, that's my brother. And we up here today.
What's your whole name, though? Can you give him the whole name? And tell him the meaning.
All right, Zuberi, I know my Dubuike Barca. Say it again.
Yeah.
Zuberi, I know my Dubuike Barca.
Mm-hmm.
And that is all a Swahili except for the Barca. That's from Hannibal. Zuberi means strong. I believe that's from Kenya or Tanzania of Swahili. Mm-hmm. I know also Swahili means second born or not the first with this strength.
Mm-hmm.
There's a humbling part to strong. Maduike means man is mother's strength. Or like, we the strength of Mother Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And Barca is Hannibal's, fashions, that group last name, and it means the thunder. So Zuberi, I know my Dubuike Barca means I am strong, but I am not the first to have this strength. I am the strength of African women, and with me comes the thunder.
Now let me ask you a question. So if y'all go back to like 2 shows ago, our elder Sikambuzo, you know what I'm saying? He was on here. He gave me my name. I'm almost certain he gave my brother his name, because we did have a couple other elders, but I just gotta keep it real. It was like y'all couldn't be fathers. Y'all was good uncles. You know what I'm saying? This man right here was just a different animal. Yeah, it was just a different animal. And the other thing is, I like to say this on here, like, I'm a real motherfucker. You know why? Because I worked at it. I got integrity. I worked at it. I got principle. I worked at it. I got discipline. I worked at it. I take responsibility. I worked at it. You feel what I'm saying? I think information is important. Being smart is tough. Because one of the things I've been saying about black people is we being outsmarted right now. Ain't nothing weak about us. You see how we shoot at each other and beat each other, everything, like we get busy. You feel what I'm saying? We do it. When it comes to the violent shit, we could get busy like everybody else. So it's not that. You being outsmarted right now. The fear that you got is come from a lack of information. It don't come from you fearful of somebody doing something to you for real. Because that's what I know. Cats ain't fearful of that because we run around. It's the wild, wild west. I be good with it. I go to the gas station. I go to the supermarket. Poles be hanging out of people. It don't even make me think. Because the other thing about it is, why would I be scared in a country that always was violent?
Right.
America has always had a crisis of violence.
It's synonymous with violence.
Exactly. So everybody running around, they so scared. You should have been scared. I was running around during the crack era.
There's a gang in Australia called the Americans.
And why? Explain to them why they called the Americans.
Listen, it's real shit. Is a documentary about, I believe, like the toughest gangs in the world.
Yeah, I think they're in Brazil. Yeah, the Ugly Americans. They called we were talking about it before. They called the Ugly Americans.
And they take the name the Americans because they feel like that's the toughest shit in the world.
They the biggest bullies on the planet.
And they kill at will. But they whole thing is no, we not dragons, we not demons, we not wolves.
We Americans.
We the Americans.
Because the Americans come and
whoa,
they set up bases. They got atomic bombs. They make your people turn on you.
So when you say America has always been violent, America is so synonymous with violence that when a group of people that's a violent gang and made it to a documentary as one of the toughest gangs in the world, their name is the Americans or the Ugly Americans. You feel me?
That's a lot of the fear is tactics too. Because a lot of these young folks that y'all scared of, they scared too. They looking for. It's funny to me, right? And this is no shot. Like, and I know brothers, I know men that I know are gonna take offense to what I'm about to say, and I'm okay with it. I don't see how a grown man could be scared of a little boy. I don't give a fuck if he got guns. I get guns too. I don't care if he could fight. He big. I rumble too. But it blows my mind when grown men tell me that they scared of boys. You didn't do something right, bro. And I know I'm gonna get some backlash from my brothers and brothers that have said it to me. So I wouldn't dare I wouldn't do that to you. I love you. I fuck with you, but just strategy wise, how the fuck how is anything gonna change if we scared of our progeny, yo? If you scared of boys and they scared, like that blows my mind to hear grown men talking about they scared. Yo, it's crazy out here. It never was not crazy. It just wasn't. It never was not crazy, yo. And it'd be funny how motherfuckers, especially motherfuckers that been through the shit that I've been through, and then all of a sudden you like, oh, and I just be looking at, I love you, but that shit ain't cool. It's not. So probably nobody probably gonna, tell me no more like that. They not gonna confide in me, and it's the thing, like, I don't take it personal, just as a point of strategy for me as a man. I don't understand how another man can tell me he's scared of boys. I just don't understand it. It's something that doesn't play well with me. You know what I'm saying? And I know why it is, but I'll be like, stop watching the news so much, yo. Stop watching these videos so much. Come outside. Really be around them. They on goofy time a little bit because they kids, though. They young boys. They supposed to act like that to a certain extent. But you did something that made this disconnect to where you really fearful of them. That wasn't what they did.
I think, too, some people, the ones that be like, yo, I ain't with that shit. I just go to work, go in the house. They try to make themselves civilians to the point where they don't realize they still in a war zone. You feel me? Like, when you're in a war-torn land, there are no civilians. Like, because anytime, and as we see at any place, gunfire can erupt, whether you're on South Street, whether you're on the sub, whether you're on the
King
bus. King of pressure. So if you understand, and this is what we were talking about PTSD before, they was like, with soldiers, they get a tour of duty. The reason the tours is set up because you have to have time off after a certain amount of this. They can't just let you go on this like incessantly.
Right.
It has to be a break. It has to be a debrief, and it has to be go to Disney World, go see the wife.
Yeah, it gotta be some relax. Go get a release. R&R.
But now, what about the people that was in the war-torn land? Like, all right, you was in Iraq. All right, you get to fly back to USA. We still here. You know what I mean? So what happened when home is the battlefield? Like, so now that thing is incessant. So people try to make themselves civilians, hoping that allow them to be kind of like draft dodgers.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, if I make myself civilian,
I got enough money, I could dodge the draft.
I could dodge this shit.
Right.
And that's like kind of like Hov saying, what do you like? OJ. You know what I'm saying? He ain't black no more. Like
he ain't black
you can't dodge it.
I'm
so
OJ.
You might as well get involved. So when you saying like, why are they fearful? They feel like if I just stay back enough and civilianize myself enough, I don't have to get active. But in the Jewish community, everybody got to get active. It's mandatory 2-year military training. They don't even leave it up to the citizen to decide, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you don't get that because in order for us to maintain this nation, everybody got to participate. And maintaining a nation in a world that we live in right now, you gotta have nukes, you gotta have AKs, you gotta have tanks, you gotta have bombs, you gotta have it, even if you using it just to show. That's the reason why they talk about stockpiling weapons.
Cold War.
Yeah, and people be like, well, they never go. No, I gotta let you know that you can't fuck with me. And then we gotta make rules so everybody can't get the same. That's an act of war too. You wasn't built enough to get in this game with us. You feel what I'm saying? So they understood it. That's why they said 13, I think it is. You basically gotta enlist and do like ROTC. It's not called ROTC, but what? And it's the other thing about the Jewish community. At 13, they got the rites of passage, so they have an even further understanding of what even more of what it is to be a man. And then the next thing is if you live in Israel, and I think it's even a thing where you gotta fly back to do it and then come back. Somebody can look that up for me, but I think it's a thing where you gotta fly back for a certain amount of time to enlist, and then you can come back. But what I wanted to ask, and I don't want to, because talking to this brother, and y'all already know from me, I can go off on this, John, and miss the point, not miss the point, but just had a whole bunch of points in there. Yeah. So what did it feel like? Because, I always ask, the first question that I always ask is, who are you? I don't really necessarily have to ask you that, but I do have to ask this. What did it, as a part of that, what did it feel like when you got the name? Did you feel like, oh, you're just saying some shit? Where was you at? Like, where was you at in your life when you got the name? Like, what did you feel about it when he gave you the name?
Well, the stage I was at, or like as far as the stage I was at.
No, the feeling. Just give me the feeling. Just give me the feeling. What did you feel like?
I felt pride, like the same pride you feel like, and I'm gonna make this the closest connection, but it's not the same. Similar to like you having a gang or a family. You know what I mean? Like the same feeling. I know why people join gangs. The gang I just joined was an intellectual gang. You know what I mean?
A cultural
We was intellectual warriors. You know what I mean? We was trying to consume every book and figure out every workout that we could do. We was nutritional, educational, spiritual, you know what I'm saying, Pan-African warriors. So I just joined that gang.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when I still have it. I still have my naming certificate, with witnesses signing and everything, right? I felt pride and I showed everybody on my block. They looked at me like, this boy.
Like, come on.
He just got all that time.
Right.
Young boy gonna snap.
Like, it's one of them jobs where a motherfucker try to turn your name into something that you only use when you come around us. When you go to other places, like, I'm Leak Raw. Like, I don't know what they talking about with that Zubari shit.
How you go from Leak Raw to Zubari? And then the part of explaining to people that grew up with me, that know me from the projects, is Lil 40. Or people that know me from Beachwood Street is Leak Raw. They're like, yo, because it's your job to get people to call you.
Yes.
What you want them to call you.
Yes. Because
how do they know? They know you from the projects that, that's Leak. Nobody knows Zoo. And Zoo is just the truncation. And I remember, rest in peace, Sekou. Sekou used to always get on us about having people truncate our name.
Right.
He'd be like, you got to say the full name.
Yeah,
Zoo,
you got to make them say the whole thing.
And we kind of came to a stalemate, with the lazy tongue. And dealing with the Goonie tongue where everything is truncated and everything is slang anyway. That's just the Philly way. We drop off ERs and INGs and stuff like that. Joint, you know what I mean? From joint and all that. We drop letters off. So that's the truncation of a greeting was acceptable because we understand that just for communication purposes.
Because it was like I just had a conversation with the little not the little brother, but he younger than me. I think he's younger than me. The brother Day One that was on here got the. That's not Day One? Wow, that's crazy. I apologize, y'all. Cause I've been in and out. Junebug. But he came up last week. Damn,
shout out to Junebug.
Shout out to Junebug. You know what I'm saying? Like, he came up last week. He talked about the axe throwing and everything. We really got that. We really going to have that going on. But me and him had a conversation today, and I was telling him how you kind of like pick and choose battles sometime because certain debates shouldn't shut down the whole argument. Like certain arguments shouldn't shut down the whole debate or the whole conversation. You know what I'm saying? So I give a good example. I don't like nigger. I don't like when people be trying to say, oh, it comes from niggers and all that. And I'm not saying it, but I know that it don't because these people created a people when they brought us here. If y'all don't want to acknowledge that.
Right.
Like, whatever we was before, we ain't that no more.
Right.
We trying to regain it, and we never going to be able to get it all the way back. So when you try to tell me that it really come from niggers and negro, like, no. Nigger is a motherfucker that hang from a tree, a motherfucker that get burnt, a motherfucker that get boiled, a motherfucker that get raped, a motherfucker that get molested. That's a nigger. And black folk, we are powerful people, but we don't have the power in that way. Like, we don't understand our power. I'm gonna put it like that. So if you don't understand your power, then you're not powerful. The potential of is different than you telling me that you powerful.
I want to say this right here because it's so crazy because we talk about hip hop so much.
Mm-hmm.
That we thinking hip hop because we really hip hop people.
I don't know. I think of R&B now, bro.
Oh, I still thinking hip
I
hop.
do. I'm actually a neo soul artist in my head, yo. That's what got me in trouble when I came home.
The piece that come to my mind is Mobb Deep. Justify Your Thug. Like that song. If I'm saying that right, that's the title of that song. Justify My Thug. Is it Justify Your Thug, or either it's a bar or the title of one of the songs?
It's a bar. That's not the title of the song, but it's a bar. But
what that bar meant to me was. Now, when I say nigga, this justify me treating you other than human. Like I can't never say, yo, Rue, walk me around here to go rob this brother, this strong black brother. You like, what? Rob you around to go rob a strong black. Oh, yo, Rue, walk me around here to go beat the shit out of this young prince that's out here.
This king.
I can't say nothing that's humanizing and edifying about the individual. So I have to have something to justify my thug. So first of all, I have to dehumanize him. So I have to call him a clown, a sucker, something other than, something that we can punch on.
Yep.
Because we can't punch on brothers, kings, princes. So family. You walk me around here to beat up my family. Like what? That all sounds is oxymoronic. So now we have to use a justifier. And so nigger is the justifier, right? The dehumanizer, the dehumanizer for all planters, you know what I'm saying? All overseers, because the only way you can buck break something, you can't see that as human.
At all.
You can't buck break.
It's crazy because
and still see that as human.
But that's the crazy thing. You in a way you did. And you further, you're trying to the buck breaking. You're trying to completely eliminate it,
right?
Because my question is always, if manhood as it was brought across the sea,
right,
was not an actual role, then why did they need to do something that extreme to break it in black people? They wanted to break the man from it physically, and they needed the woman to see that manhood that you think is a thing, shit means nothing.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So it that buck breaking was even a further do what nigger was made to do. I'm dehumanizing you, and now I'm gonna do shit to take it all away. I'm gonna make you not feel human no more. You're not even going to want to operate like a human.
Right. So again, bringing it full circle. Shit we did coming up as young boys. When you run a train. You can't run a train on a sister.
No.
You can't be like, yo, we got this little sister around. You got these little smuts. You had names, Skags, Smuts, little sliders. You will say you have to have a justifier.
Jump off, all that good shit.
You have to have a dehumanizer. You have to have a dehumanizing title in order to move forward with the process. So us running a train was a kind of what I wasn't gonna call that buck breaking, but it was some kind of shit that was inhumane.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? But we wouldn't have done that because we would hurt somebody if that was our sister.
Right.
They'd be like, yo, your sister around there and they run a train on her. What? Where you kicking the door and you fighting, shooting, whatever. What? Whoever you knew was involved in that
right.
is punishment for them. You feel what I'm saying? Of all kind. So it's like, again, that word nigger. There's no argument for it. Is a justifier, but it evolved. The language, the people absorbed it and tried to make it evolve.
Right, and they we taking the power out of it and all that. How you gonna let them define you and this, that, and the third? And I'd be like, dog, this ain't the one that y'all need to be trying to dig into in that way. But the point that I was making was like with our names is I don't need you saying Moss instead of Moss and McCauley. Derail. I don't need to have that argument with you or that debate with you because it's going to derail the overall conversation that I'm trying to have with you.
Absolutely.
The book that I'm trying to get you to read, the workout that I'm trying to get you to do with me, the conversation that I'm trying to have with you, whatever I'm trying to do that's positive. Because I was saying it earlier, I intentionally try to be the man that I am. Right. It's not a thing where it's like, oh, I'm putting up a facade for this person or that person in these different spaces. The thing that makes me a real dude, whatever you want to try to say, is my consistency. Right. And that I understand that those internal riches are important. Me having loyalty to my brother, that's important to what makes me a man. If I'm disloyal, I'm not a man in my world.
Right.
A disloyal motherfucker is not a man to me.
Right.
So it goes down to the children thing. Like I was telling Carlita, like one of the things that I learned from being told on by my co-defendant was he gave me signs that I shouldn't have been fucking with him. And one of those signs was how he treated his children's moms. Because I should have known, if you not going to take care of what comes from you, what looks like you, is part you. If you ain't going to take care of that, you ain't going to hold me the fuck down. No. It's impossible. It really is. It's impossible. When the stakes get high enough, which they did, you going to jump ship just like you did about being a father. So why would I let you rock with me? Why would you be in the car with me? Why would I say, it's my dog? He don't take care of his kids. That ain't my fucking dog. I know you, associate. You over there with it, though. But you ain't no man, so you can't be with me every day, all day, because I only hang with men. When it comes to males, I only hang with men. Only. Or if anybody, like, I only hang with men. It's not even no question. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to go too far. But the thing about the name thing, and the reason why I brought up the nigga debate argument, because if me and somebody is working towards something for black people and they call black people niggas, I'm not going to let that argument keep us from doing what we're doing for black people. And sometimes we do that with certain things. We'll let something derail the whole conversation, and now we can't get the stuff done that we could have been working together on. So that was the thing about the name. Like, I allowed people to say Moss because I didn't really want to have a whole debate about Moss McCallie and that, because I'm trying to explain or show or instruct on something else. You know what I mean? Now, this, because I don't want the whole time to go. We got these books out. You know what I'm saying?
Information.
And this
transformative information.
The reason why I said, like, yo, having information, a thirst for knowledge, that makes you a man. If you don't thrive to know more, you can't be a man. You ain't gonna be able to take care of yourself. Right. Those who are not informed get taken advantage of in every setting. It's proven. That shit proven. Show me somebody that's ignorant to something and they ain't getting taken advantage of. It's for real.
I want to say something. You know how they say, you speaking about international contacts. You know, the economy now is a global economy. Meaning, you know, it's self-explanatory, but meaning, like, you could be home and doing business in Tokyo. You could be doing, Forex, foreign exchange with currency. You know, you could be buying things, shipping out containers. So my thing is the competition is global, and there's about 8 billion people on the planet. So the only way to separate yourself in a competitive global economy is not even a competitive, you know, nation no more. It's a competitive. You're in competition with the globe. You know, the world. Is mind expansion, because that's the only thing. New ideas and new solutions is the only thing that keeps you ahead of the pack. You know, because what's old is obsolete and what's today is aging.
Because one of the things that I read that proves that point is a lot of jobs, your promotions, your upward mobility is based on being innovative. It's based on being innovative. So you have to keep redefining yourself in your role. Like, what more can you keep bringing? Just you being a hard worker, we can get a couple people to do that. We need people to be innovative. You can't be innovative without mind expansion.
Absolutely.
And that's something I was reading before I came home. Like, I was reading this shit about the job market, and I kept reading it. And everybody kept saying it, like, we don't do the whole factory model. You just work hard, be on time, and do your job. That's not how this joint built no more. And even though we live in a service-based society, but you got to keep being innovative. The shit that make money, that put you in position, it's fluid. You got to keep thinking of the new thing. You got to keep reading. You got to keep getting new degrees and new certifications. Shit, you got to start making shit up. Make your own certifications. Do your own workshops that apply to the jobs or the arenas that you're going to be in.
One thing, like, I was just reading about Tucson. When you look at leaders, right, it's not a coincidence that all their minds was just different than the people at their time. Like Tucson, like I was reading, he was a handler of horses. You know what I'm saying? So he understood equestrian. You know, he learned French and medicine when he was a child. So now, when everybody else is out, you know, he's with the animals. You know what I'm saying? So he ain't in the field, and he know French and he know medicine. You know what I'm saying? Then eventually he became free. You know what I mean? He had farms and all this other stuff like that. But him having that early on, that understanding of French when people probably couldn't even read.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So this would made him a leader when it came time for the men to be around. His mind was expanded. You know what I mean? When you look at Dr. King, even if you don't, you know, follow all his philosophy.
But he got there by being, this boy was a genius.
Absolutely.
He was going to Oxford at 15.
and Gandhi, like he's studying strategies abroad, like he was a non-violent war general. So his whole thing is like, I got to find another war general who used a non-violent strategy and kind of amalgamate them together, and or integrate them and try to come out with a strategy to get these people off our back.
This the thing to that point too, though. Like I want to get back to, not saying that black people don't do it at all, but I want it to be like a regular thing where it's like, you know how upstate it would be like you would read the book, and it was like, I want to know what he thought about this book, and if I got the book first and you already gave me like your synopsis of the book, you gave me a perspective on the book. Now I don't want to read. I know that I'm gonna agree with most of what you're saying.
Already.
Right. But I'm like, now I'm trying to figure out like, what is something that he missed in the book? What is a concept that he didn't say something about? This is what I'm reading the book, because I got the information that he giving me. It's like, all right, and it's the same way. We would mark books up, and I know it would be like, nah, I don't really agree with that. So I'm really in a cell, and I told Carlita the other day, I was like, I used to talk out loud. I would watch stuff on TV. I would watch the news, and they would be coming with all these ideas, and it's like, all right, I got books that say a lot of this shit ain't true. They saying. So I know I can't go on Crossfire and argue with these dickheads. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting there like, nah, what you saying is wrong. That ain't how capitalism really work. This is how it work for the people. And I'm really, but it didn't used to be like this aggressive thing. It would be like, all right, I got to figure out an argument. I got to figure out a debate. I got to figure out good discourse. You know what I'm saying? And I got to figure out a solution. Because a lot of times what y'all didn't get caught up in is it's the complaints. He's complaining, she's complaining, we going back and forth. It's no solution. And the reason why they leave it open-ended, because it's another show. They can't give you a solution because now we can't talk about this no more. That's something y'all don't know about watching TV. They be putting y'all on both sides.
Leave you hanging.
And leave you the fuck hanging. And you think you just had this whole enlightenment, and it's like, and you arguing complaints. And then when somebody comes to you and be like, well, what's the solution? They be like, what? That is the solution. I'm telling you the I'm like, no, you just give me what the issue is.
You know, one of the things that set us apart, and again, mind expansion, that's why it set us apart. That's why, like, not the toot, you know, our horn or give us a pat on the back, but any group of people that was incarcerated, the people that was at the top of those group of people dealt with us, whether they was gang related or religious related. Or geographical, so
or some other type of African thought or black thought,
right? You know what I mean? Whether like the rosters that we came across, the rosters wanted to know what we was eating. We shared food ideas. Listen, we put peanut butter with this in the oatmeal, or you chop up the banana. Like we shared, we exchanged nutritional information with the roster. With the brothers in the Nation of Islam, you know, we shared, you know, maybe some Elijah Muhammad books that we have not read, or maybe they might got an old Malcolm or a classic writing of Malcolm. We sharing books with them. The brothers that's Bloods and Crips, you know, we might have talked to them about, you know, calming down on the shooting and all that, and using that organization to try to do something in their community or whatever. But everybody dealt with us, and the reason being is because our minds was expanded. Like and I'm about to say something. We had newspapers from around the country,
around the world.
You know what I'm saying?
Around the world,
and it was mandatory that we come to the yard and rotate these newspapers. Like you have a lock-in period with the paper, not a day.
Right.
Like you come out in the morning time, everybody swap out papers.
And don't forget your point, but I just like the Philadelphia Tribune, the Sun-Times, the Pittsburgh Carrier, the Chicago Defender,
Amsterdam News,
the Amsterdam News. What's the joint out from
the Caribbean
Oakland?
Joint.
The Caribbean joint, but what's the joint? Because they be having the joint out Oakland. Nah.
The Bayview.
The Bayview. The reason
Bayview.
why the Bayview to me, because the Bayview used to be more comprehensive with their information. I mean, it's in California, but and
shout
Oakland,
out to the Bayview,
right? And Oakland is a more revolutionary area in the country. Just call it right. And it's like a heavy LGBTQ community and how they push, you know, Latin X, because that's what they call. I was about to say Latino, or my Chicano brothers and sisters. There's a lot of El Salvadorians. It's like a lot of different issues in Oakland when people are on the forefront rumbling, and they coming up with ideas and new concepts and ways to collaborate and have coalition. That's different than a lot of other places other than Philly, because Philly is somewhere that always had, and Jamie said this when he was on here, you can't do what we do in just about no other city. They don't have an infrastructure for community work and nonprofit ideas and work the way they do for Philadelphia. Chicago, maybe New York, just because of the fact that it's New York. But other than that, I really couldn't go nowhere, come straight. I'm not saying that it can't be done at all. I know I could. But I'm not going to say the ease, but it's just more resources for it here. I couldn't go to Columbia, South Carolina and do what I do right now. I would have to probably do it through a church or something. And then that would come with a whole bunch of limitations that I couldn't necessarily work with to expand it the way that I should. But I don't want to get off the subject of these books because there's one book in particular.
Oh, man.
So we're going to name all of the books. But there's one book in particular we definitely have to have a conversation about this book.
Let's go down.
On air.
Let's go down. Like all these books, we both read all these.
Yes.
Like another thing too, you know, when you up top and you serious about what you're doing, is mandatory reading. That was something like
must read.
And it dwindled off when we was doing our time. Like it was more mandatory before they got the video games, the tablets, the TVs. It's so many toys and things you could do now. Distractions. You know what I'm saying? We literally during August, you know, we'll put our TVs up for Black August and just read, like turn into information juggernauts that we already was. We were just pushing ourselves beyond, you know. But we all read these books, and I'm going to name the first one right here. We got The ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
So one of the things, definitely look Dr. Welsing, W-E-L-S-I-N-G. Look it up. There's plenty of stuff on her on Google, YouTube, all that. Just look her up. It'll pop up. But I'll give y'all something from that book that stood out to me when and I start talking about it more now. And it's crazy because she was ahead of her time when it come to the development of the brain. So she had a thing where she was saying that Black people shouldn't try to be in serious relationships or have children until they're around like 30. She might have even said 35 in the book. But I know it was that 30 threshold. And with us knowing what we know about the brain developing, I know that that's what she knew. That you're not really out completely into adulthood until 25, because the most important thing on your body doesn't fully develop. And at least I say it's the most important thing. Somebody else might be able to say different. The brain to me is the most important thing on your body, whatever you want to call it, a muscle, an organ, whatever. But it's the most important thing, and it does not fully develop until you're 25. So that made me like really, really, after I read all that information, I'm still like, now I really, really got to redefine how I'm dealing with people 25 and younger. That don't mean you get to do whatever the fuck you want to do, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm still a kid, I'm 24. Like, no. No. But she had the right idea, because she like, okay, if you are 25, what about the people who it doesn't fully develop until like you turn 26? And what about the people like before 25?
That's running a little late.
You know what I'm saying? So give them some grace after. So we going to go into the 30s before we start making serious life decisions and having a child. Even though y'all playing with this shit out here, that's a serious life decision. So that's one thing that I got from that book. She talk about a whole bunch of stuff in that joint, but that's one thing that's contemporary for me, and I got it from her for real.
The one thing that always jump out about the book is Baby Boy. The movie Baby Boy.
Yes, and I love that movie.
When I first seen the movie, I don't think I read the book yet.
Right.
So when he was talking about her theory, you know what I'm saying, and making the connections between the verbal symbolism, crib, mama,
toys,
you know what I'm saying, baby, all you know what I'm saying. And so I ain't get it, but I remember. Then I seen it again after I read it, and I made the connections. But the thing that stand out about the book to me the most is her symbolism, and it hit me even harder once I read Monster, the autobiography of L.A. Gangbanger. Shout out to Sanyika Shakur, right, for that book. When he talked about the police will always attack, you know, our genitals. He said at first he thought it was just a street thing, like where they would handcuff you, you know what I'm saying, and just like spread your legs and kick you, you know what I'm saying, stomp your testicles, stop your private part. He thought it was some type of, you know what I'm saying, cop stuff. But he said when he got incarcerated and noted that the guards would also make that their center of attention, like that's the center of their attack, like your genitals is the center of attack. Like they had this great hatred for your genitals.
The phallus envy is one of the things that she talks about in the book. Phallus envy. Look it up. I ain't even gonna tell y'all none of it. Just look it up. Look the book up. But phallus envy is what you talking about right now.
Absolutely. And after reading Monster Joint, because I was in a different space, and then I reflected back, you know what I'm saying, on what she was saying about how the first thing, you know, that, a white man want to put in his mouth at the close of Big Deal is what? A cigar. And what does a cigar look like? It like a black penis with a hole right there.
Mm-hmm.
But I say, maybe she's reaching.
Right.
But then she said, why the cigarette small? When it's time to make his shit small and skinny and thin.
And why the white woman want to smoke the cigarette all the time? Like all the like butch, lesbian. I know y'all not going to feel this, but I'm just telling y'all, look it up.
And
check
why
it out.
is it shaped like that?
Right.
Then I said, okay, all right. Then she goes to pool,
mm-hmm.
playing billiards. And she says the green on the billiard table represents the land.
Mm-hmm.
The pool, the cue sticks are black or brown, representing phallus symbols. They also shape like, phallus symbols. The balls represent testicles. The cue ball being the white testicle trying to knock everything off the earth. And the way you win is to knock the black testicle off the earth.
Last. That's the winner.
You feel me?
Right.
Then you say, she still be... But then she go to baseball. Again, the green field representing the earth.
Mm-hmm.
The white ball small representing European testicles or whatever. And then the bat brown, strong, hard, knocking it out of the universe. Mm-hmm. And then she do the same thing with bowling. The black
and then she goes to the buildings.
The buildings.
Why do everybody want to have the tallest building? Why is that this big? Right.
My hammer. She said black men.
The Eiffel Tower. What is the John in D.C.? What's that called? The John in D.C.
At the Washington Monument?
Yep. What is the fuck is that John?
But it's an Nautilus down there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she said, when we name our shit Monster, my snake, she said they named the shit my pecker, my worm. She said even listen to the coding. You know what I'm saying? How we code our shit. You feel me? And she said a bullet, which they love. You know what I'm saying? Shaped like a phallus. And I'm like, at some point you have to, because even artists made the connection subconsciously and say, busting off in it, shoot the club up, making like if you have sex and you unprotected and you don't pull out, you shot the club up. They making that connection to shooting. You know what I mean? So even they understand there's a phallus symbol connection there subconsciously. They didn't consciously make that connection, but they made it.
Exactly.
And Dr. Frances Russell Wilson just points it out.
Right. And she's one of, of course, at some point when you really start looking her up and all that, they try to make her crazy and she's junk science and all that. But y'all, it's the same people who said runaway slaves had a disease because they shouldn't have wanted to run away. But we ain't going to go too deep into that. Look that up too. Malcolm X. Now, yeah. All right. Okay. So thank you. I appreciate. I love when people be on the show and they join in the show. I love that. She didn't have to
for the fact.
But I love. She was like, "Oh, I'm fact finding this right here." Yeah. You know what I mean? I appreciate you taking a task on the show. I appreciate it. I love when people come in and do work. So Malcolm X, we're gonna come back to Sacred Woman because it's right there. Is major in the middle, And I know y'all probably thinking these niggas didn't really read it. Yes, we did. But Malcolm X, the reason why I ain't gonna skip over. Yeah, I'm not gonna skip over Malcolm. But y'all all know, y'all read the story. A lot of y'all called us Malcolm X ass niggas when we start telling y'all shit. And we like, that's the misconception. Motherfuckers is not reading up here. They're not reading. So everybody's not coming out like Malcolm. You hear me say it, but so many people, I ain't even gonna go deep because people know Malcolm's story. But I will say it from how it relates to us. I know my brother has been called a Malcolm X ass nigga.
Same way they call him devil.
Yo, I definitely got called a Malcolm X ass nigga. And you know what's funny? Because I've been called that in Venom. And I was like, you're stupid. That doesn't make me feel bad. I'm glad that you compare me to Malcolm.
You know what somebody said about me before? Like, and it was some brothers. They was like, yo, don't tell Zoo. Don't share none of the information with Zoo. He gonna turn it against you. So now me having a conversation about information or turning the faulty information on his head is me turning it against you.
It's turning it against you. It's like the John, and I ain't gonna go too far because I want to definitely get the Sacred Woman, it's funny because
Detroit Red.
I done got called, you think you know everything. I love that though. Because it's a psychological thing. It shows a lot about you. If you tell me that, I know you believe it.
Yeah.
It's like calling me Little Rue. I never got offended. Because when you call me Little Rue, it's an acknowledgement that I'm big as shit. And you don't have no other way to work through that. So you be like, what's up, Little Rue?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I don't mind. You know what I'm saying?
The thing that
you think you perfect.
The thing that stink out about Malcolm, as told the Alex Haley, this story, one, Alex Haley, writing style, because I think he wrote for Playboy.
And he wrote Roots.
At the time.
Yeah, he wrote Roots.
Like, this inspired him. and it's just his writing style and the connection that him and Malcolm had. You know what I'm saying? Like Malcolm knew or believed his days was numbered, so this was like Malcolm sharing this with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Nobody else writing on him. This is like his slave narrative. You know what I'm saying? So to speak, as told to Alex Haley. He did it in that kind of way, even though he could write.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you had to take that into consideration. Like what was it about Alex Haley? You know what I'm saying? That Malcolm seen, and Malcolm inspired Alex Haley to write Roots. You know what I'm saying? After this, you know what I'm saying? But Malcolm seen something that Alex Haley writing, and Malcolm being a prolific reader and a lover of the language, understood that he would do justice with the story. He didn't have time to edit. I think it was Malcolm knew he was under the gun. I don't got time to edit. I don't got, like Tupac. I'm gonna compare it, and I hope nobody take this disrespectful. But I remember I was watching a documentary about Tupac, and he would just go in the booth and spit it, and he wouldn't fix nothing. He said, "We do that later," because he understood like his days was numbered. Like Pac was one of those people who also felt like, you know, death was around the corner. You know what I'm saying? So, and when he felt like his life was coming to a finite state, you know what I'm saying, as far as physically, he did things to live infinitely.
Right.
He said, "I'm gonna take this finite time and give myself infinite time through my music." And so he would go in the studio, lay a joint down, write it real quick, spit it, whoever's sorry or not, y'all fix it later. You know what I'm saying? And
the other part we gotta, and this really coincides with who he was fucking with. He was at a disadvantage because he started to realize that nothing that he was doing was his.
Right.
That it was either Suge or Suge's wife, and he was trying to put so much shit so he could satisfy the contract.
Right.
Because that was another part of him knowing that, like,
be free.
I don't want to fucking die, possibly,
Under
and
this
all
contract.
of my shit is somebody else's. It's not mine.
Right.
You feel me? And he didn't make it to that. He didn't make it to that part.
I gotta satisfy this contract.
You feel what I'm
To
saying?
get free. And so it's told to Alex Haley, but and then I'm gonna pass it right back. The maturation of a boy to a man.
Right.
From Malcolm Little, when his father was alive, and the things that went on with his teacher, telling them that he's hand strong but not mind strong. You know, when he wanted to be a lawyer and they said be a carpenter. You know, that was the first diversion of you know what I'm saying, his intellectual, you know what I'm saying, power. You know, from Malcolm Little to Detroit Red as a teen, you know what I'm saying, to Malcolm X, to Malik El-Haj Shabazz, into Omawale.
I knew you was gonna steal my shit, yo.
Ancestor.
Because I was about to say, yo, we gonna move from Malcolm by letting a lot of people don't know.
Go ahead.
But I got something to add to that shit too.
Yes, sir.
You didn't take it. But I want people to know that his name was Omawale because he had a strong relationship with John Henry Clark, something that they don't talk about. That Malcolm really sat with John Henry Clark and had a lot of the real shit that he knew. I ain't even gonna say no disrespect. He didn't get it from Elijah, yo. He got that shit from John Henry Clark, like really sitting with him and getting the information. So I'm not saying what they gave him wasn't major, because they gave him an extraordinary platform.
Right.
But a lot of that information about being African, that came from John Henry Clark. And he recognized it. He said it like this dude was really an elder. You know what I mean? So moving on Malcolm, look up John Henry Clark, and his name was Omawale. Right. If y'all didn't know, his name was Omawale, and look up John Henry Clark. So Sacred Woman, I'm gonna jump right in with Sacred Woman is
Queen Afua.
Queen Afua. When we was booked, I told every woman that I knew to read Queen Afua. If you was gonna never read anything else about being black,
Queen Afua,
being African, as a woman, please, I've sent it to folks, but I tried, like, yo, read this, look it up, get this book, read this book, and I'm gonna just and one of my joints from there that's always stick out is a woman's menstrual cycle. And she got a whole bunch of priesthood information in there. Like when you go through these paces, you're going to be a sacred woman. Like it's a real thing. And for any woman who may ask, like, damn, what is comparable? And I told women, we had that conversation. That's a really, really good question. My thing is African holistic health. For a man, for anybody, but as a man, the comparable thing, it would be African Holistic Health by Dr. Africa. You know what I'm saying? If you read this book, it's step by step on really how to become an African priest. He don't say it like that, but it's really step by step to the point where he tell you like, yo, you could be a breatharian. I tried. I couldn't do it in jail. My brothers, that's another thing that me and him. It's like, you want us to be breathing. I should have never told him this part of the book, though. Because once I told him, Once I told him,
that.
he was like, "This motherfucker, you trying to make us a brief?" I'm like, "Dog, all this shit we eating, like, I love peanut butter." I almost cried when I read in the book that he was like, "It's rancid peanuts. It's not really good." I'm like, "Man, that's all I got.
That's all that we have."
And I said, "Fuck it." I came out, I'm like, "Yo, man, I ain't fucking with that peanut." They like, "What?"
There's nothing left. There's nothing left.
There's nothing left. He trying to make us into a breatharian.
No. It was one time, right? We was doing fruits and vegetables for the day, right?
Yeah.
And you know we don't control the diet. And they gave us something. It was like the last meal of the day. It was hard that day. It was like pears. I had like one pack of like tropical blend back at the block. And they gave us like some carrots and raisins, but it had like mayonnaise on it. We was trying to get a vote. Everybody like, "Yo, what we doing?
Can we eat the mayonnaise?" I'm like, no mayonnaise. Rest that shit up.
Like this, yo, mayonnaise, like, yo, it's vegetables. We like, yo, is it vegetables, yo? Is that vegetable? People vegetables. But no, that was a good joint though. That was discipline.
Yeah, man. And I tell people, like, if you really another reason why I know that I've been through my paces, you know, if you want to call it like a priesthood, a monkship or whatever, I know I've been through my paces because I very rarely hear people tell me what I'm about to say. Like, I know people who say that they fast routinely, but I've never heard somebody tell me they fasted and it felt like they went on a journey. I've never heard it. And I fasted in prison on more than one occasion, but one time in particular, when the fast was over, I don't know if he remembered me saying this, like all week. I was like, "Yo, I feel like I went somewhere, bro. I didn't go nowhere. I was with y'all, came out in my cell, I'm in the jail, you know what I mean? But after we finished our fast, dog, I really felt, my body felt like I went on a journey, like I had left the jail. Not like I left my body, but my whole bit, I felt like I went somewhere, and it fucked me up not fucked me up as in I was just like, damn, how did I get that feeling from like fasting and really, you know, praying and working out and having communion with my brothers, like really being out here sharing and damn near ready to pass out one day. It was so hot, yo. We trying to share a fucking grapefruit, but that build camaraderie. Like Barbara always be like, "How y'all relation?" Because the shit that we had to go through and stand up and not turn on each other and all that, it's out here, but we don't have. I don't know. It just, they ain't go through the shit, yo. They ain't go through the shit. And a real important part before we get to this right here, and I purposely kind of like made this last because he got to come back on so we can really, you know, I can argue about this shit. Like, no. But no, it's a thing where, and I'm trying to recreate it, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm seeing a lot of issues, but the issues we was going through with men in prison, we going through with women out here when it comes to like the lack of information, the lack of unity, just the ignorant, savage shit. We've been through it with men already. We know how to deal with that. With women, it's like, I could tell y'all a whole bunch of things of how it makes it difficult, but I recognize now. You know what I mean? I really do recognize. So we try and recreate it. But I felt like I went on a journey, yo. And if somebody ever fast and they had one of those spiritual experiences like that, I definitely would like to know. But most people that tell me they fast, they don't tell me that part. And I don't ask. I just be wanting to hear to see.
Listen. One thing, and I'm gonna share this with you now. I just had epiphany. Well, not epiphany. I just remembered reading one of Mumia books, and I think it was called the cell, the school, the classroom in the cell. I think it's Mumia Abu Jamal and the brother that taught at Vox that be on CNN sometime. I forget his name right now. His name escapes me. Mark Lamont Hill. Yeah. Mark Lamont Hill and Mumia Abu Jamal combined for a book, right? And I think in one of the chapters. Right, and I hope that's the book, or it might be Live from Death Row, but I know it's Mumia. And he says, somebody said that he was sitting in the middle of the cell, and I think like he had a book in every direction. And he was like, "Yo," and he was like, "Why you reading like that?" And Mumia asked the guy, asked the person in the cell. He said, "I gotta hurry up and read the books before they come and take them." But I remember doing that when we were fast. Yeah, I would be reading 3 or 4 books at one time. You know what I mean? People don't think that's possible, right? I could be reading a book about religion. I could be reading a book about history. I could be reading a book about psychology, and I could be reading a book about war, and I could be engaged in conversations about every single book I'm reading to people who gave me those books. Like I'm like, one book from the block, one book from the library, one book from a brother on another block, and one book is mine that somebody already got in the jail, and we're going to talk about that. You feel me? So putting your mind to those limits that.
The thing of our ancestors not being able to speak for 10 years.
And I want to say this too. This used to happen. By reading 2 books at the same time, I used to wonder nobody ever read these 2 books together.
Right.
So now I'm mixing peanut butter and jelly now. So now I'm taking, even though I read the autobiography of Malcolm, now I'm reading that with the narrative of Frederick Douglass side by side. I'm reading them at the same time to see, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm putting them two time frames together. You know what I'm saying? I'm going back.
Listen, this is the thing too. And can we gonna say the names of these books, and we gonna talk about Booker T. Too, you know, I'm always on still some minutes time. So we gonna read, not read it, but Man Child in the Promised Land,
must read.
Claude Brown, Must Rant, Coming to Age, John. Everybody gotta have those. Is that what's
100
that?
Amazing Facts about the so-called Negro.
About the so-called Negro. What's the next one?
With the proof. The narrative of Frederick Douglass.
The reason why the narrative of Frederick Douglass, and I know my brother got a lot that he want to say on it, but I'm gonna steal this, John, so we can jump into the next, John. The thing about Fred is Fred really became free when he fought the slave master in the barn, because what he allowed them to know was, I ain't scared to die. So y'all can't control me no more. And Fred lived. They didn't kill him. He fought the slave master, and it was the slave breaker. Yeah. And usually those were the Christian priests, just to let y'all know. Right. The slave breaking plantations was the most religious plantation in the South.
It was the Green County.
Exactly. So what was the other one? The one the slave narrative. All right, cool.
100 Amazing
And
Facts.
we gotta talk about this for a hot second. Like, give me a hot second.
Booker. Telepharaoh.
Booker
T. Washington.
Booker T.
General salute.
Booker T. Washington. So this is a book.
Home of Carter G. Wilson. Shout out to Carter G. Wilson, man.
This is a book that me and this brother.
Juggernaut, man.
Me and this brother, he not gonna let me talk now. He don't want me to get my shit. I was like, nah. But me and this brother literally got, like, it's a funny thing about me and him, like, that I don't never think I was ever mad at him. Like, I've been mad at him since he been home a couple times, but being in jail, I don't never think it was a time when I really was upset with this brother. When I looked at him, I was like, yo, what the fuck is you doing? This boy locked COs and cells. I wasn't mad then. I was ready for whatever was about to happen next. I wasn't mad. He told the nigga to turn my radio back on. I felt him. I said, why I ain't do that? How he get one of these? That was a one-up for me. I said, all I did was, they wanted to, all I did, they came to the cell, they wanted to search the cell. I'm like, yo, dog, I'm not getting out the bed, bro. You're not doing this inspection shit. You can walk in here and tap the window, get the fuck out. Yeah. So since he was new, he like, nah, I ain't doing. But dog, I ain't doing. I'm watching ESPN. Yeah. And my Sully, shout out to Putt, man. I gotta reach out to my brother. You know what I'm saying? George Garfield, you know what I'm saying? And I'm screaming it out so motherfuckers know who I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? He definitely should be home. I'm definitely gonna get, but that was my Sully. And one thing that I always respect about that young, because he was young. He was like 21. He never blinked, yo. He never leaned over, was like, oh, what's up, man? You know what?
Right.
He just laid there. Right. And when the ball came, he was like, y'all gotta go. He threw the cover over his head like, man, fuck that. Are we in here? Yeah. I ain't going nowhere. We was Sullies in the hole and everything. Yeah. They separated us, but so Booker T, man.
Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. I am not a Booker T fan. To me, Booker T is a fucking sellout. He's a historical sellout. You know what I'm saying? Damn. And this is one of the only times that me and my brother really got into like a heated joint where it was like, I ain't budging, you ain't budging.
This is my guy.
And it was tension. It was tension because it's like you used to being able to convince people. That's one thing about having information and people have a lack of. I normally can convince you. You know what I'm saying? Because I could show you the evidence. It's not my shit. But this is one of the first time, and this is like he's a peer. Like it's no shortcomings. So it's like, how do you believe this shit? Yeah. That's where I went. Like, how? How do you believe? But give them, because I believe he's a sellout.
All right. Well, my brother here, you know, he's speaking about a speech. Well, overall, his tactics. But I look at Booker. You know, Booker was the last leader. You had the national leader that was born into slavery. So I take that into consideration when W.E.B. Du Bois opens his mouth. Right. You know, you were born in the North. You're in New Hampshire. Right. Come to Bama. Come to Roll Tide. Right. Come to Roll this tide. You know why they rolling tide? There's an ocean of blood down here.
No doubt.
Roll Tide. Come down here where they roll tide at and holler at you. You know, W.E.B. Du Bois, you know, went to school with all white children. He was light skinned, you know, understanding that colorism was a thing then is a thing now. But Booker was just a different breed, right? You know, and he understood how to deal with white people from the stance of a slave. You know, so when he was freed through the Emancipation Proclamation process, he was about 10 years old. You know, he attended school, so he was educated. So it was a town in Alabama, Tuskegee, and they was promised a school for their vote. They said, we want a school if we give you our vote. That was like they was holding out their voting block when we got the right to vote after, you know, the Emancipation Proclamation. They was exercising their right to vote. And so they was given a barn and a shack. So when Booker get the job to be the teacher of a school, you know what I'm saying, for newly freed slaves, is a barn and a shack. It's nothing there.
Right.
The man learns how to build bricks, make bricks. He builds it up brick by first. He got to go on a GoFundMe campaign. Basically, he got to convince Andrew Carnegie, who's American, the men who built America. Shout out to Carly. That's one of the shows she always, you know what I'm saying, telling people to watch, referring to. The men who built America, Andrew Carnegie, tycoon. He convinces him to build the library on Tuskegee. Another thing, he houses George Washington Carver, great agricultural scientist. Shout out to George Washington Carver. One of the horrors of him that I learned on Hidden Colors, that as a child he was castrated to be given away to, you know, a white girl to be a living baby doll. So his whole life he had a very high-pitched voice.
He was a eunuch.
He was a eunuch. And he had a high-pitched voice, and a lot of people during school thought he was feminine or even questioned his sexuality. But he never revealed that he was castrated. He just let them tease him. But Booker seen the potential in him, the greatness in him, and housed him. You know what I'm saying? And let George Washington Carver go on to do all the great things he did there. Booker T. Washington also housed runaway slaves. You know what I mean? He housed fugitive slaves or runaway slaves during the Civil War. You know what I'm saying? Well, I believe that was after like towards the end of that. He was letting them come there and hide as students. You know what I'm saying? He hid a lot of people as students. You know what I mean? He funded black newspapers secretly, covertly. He funded black newspapers covertly. He stood up to W.E.B. Du Bois, and then Garvey picked up that flag, and Garvey accepted him.
No, Garvey did not.
Garvey came to America, and I'm gonna let you go past the mic.
But he never got to see him and talk to him and see how he was rocking.
But he was Booker was due for self.
And Du Bois was a fucking sellout too.
Booker was due for
I don't
self.
want people to think like because I disagree with Du Bois. I didn't mean to say Booker. Du Bois is a fucking sellout too. For all y'all that's hype off of, he did amazing things because we just some amazing ass fucking people. But
he wound up going back to Africa at the end
at 96
in Ghana and teaching at the University of Ghana. I just seen a picture of Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael. Shout out to him. You know, Kwame Nkrumah. Shout out to Kwame Nkrumah. And W.E.B. Du Bois' wife on the picture, and it was in I think either Guinea or they might have been in Ghana, right? It was an old black and white picture, beautiful picture. But I'm thinking like, yo, you got to go to Africa and die in Africa after you fought all these years
and sabotage all these black folk, and you gave fucking Margaret Sanger the go ahead for fucking Planned Parenthood.
Right.
Read the literature. He on the same time she on.
He was NCAA boy, but
he vicious.
But Garvey came here to meet him. You know, so I look at it like this. I look at the leadership in America like this from my research, and I could be off. But when I go back, I wanted to see who was the first national leader, who was the first person to make noise for us, like nationally. Far as back, I go to Fred. Frederick Douglass was the first mover and shaker. Fred was on the run for linking up with John Brown and them with Harper's Ferry, but somebody told they got hung and all that shit. That was gunplay. Fred, they found letters. Right. Like Fred and John, like John Brown was a white sympathizer, you know, abolitionist. Him and his sons, you know, they was going, you know, rob the military.
Extremists.
Right. So Fred was on the run. This how, you know, one of the reasons why, you know, him and we was with the white girl. He got over to London, go over to Europe, wherever he was at over there. But Fred was really rocking and rolling, writing, speaking, linking. You know, he was really pushing it in going to Europe, speaking for us. You know, so shout out to Fred. But then Fred get old. So I'm looking, I'm reading, I'm doing my research. Who did Fred tap? Fred ain't tap nobody. But who on the hills? Booker. Booker, young Pharaoh. You feel him? Booker come up. Booker next thing. Booker put the university together, Tuskegee. He put it together. We building bricks. We got schools. This is that and the third. He hiring people that's on the run. George Washington Carver there. They call him the Wizard of Tuskegee. They call him they call him a ringmaster. He handling these wild motherfuckers down here in Alabama. When they like to burn shit down and noose a motherfucker up. Strange fruit. Billie Holiday said strange fruit. He know about that strange fruit hanging from a tree.
He know.
So he know I got to deal with them. In the speech, the Atlanta Compromise, they talk about, or the Atlantic Cotton Exposition, whereas though he had all these cotton motherfuckers in one place. All this money. So he said, listen, on all things social, eating, dancing, visiting each other's houses.
All that.
We can remain separate as the 5 fingers on the hand. This is what he said. I then they repeated verbatim. And he said, but all things that are mutually beneficial for both parties, let us come together like a hand on a fist. And the crowd went crazy because he basically said, my sons ain't going to try to fuck y'all daughters. We're not going to try to do to y'all what y'all did to us.
Right.
Y'all don't have to think that us working along y'all or coming out of slavery mean now is our turn to do to y'all, to buck break y'all and to do to y'all daughters what y'all did to y'all. Because that was their fear.
Yeah.
But once he said, no, in all things social, we know. It's still colored only, white only. I don't want no whites at my school.
What is it? Miscegenation. Miscegenation.
He wasn't for miscegenation. We don't want that. And so he pulled it off. You feel me? And it's still standing to the day. Men build monuments. He got a monument. You feel me?
So the only thing I'm gonna say, because
he was underground with the funding of the papers.
I let him run. I let him get busy. You know what I'm saying? And we gonna get busy more on the next show. Shout out to Took for letting us get this couple.
And if anybody want to have a better understanding, the book is called Up from Slavery.
Yeah, read that.
Book of T. Washington, Up from Slavery.
But the part that my brother
check that out.
Don't tell y'all about is the reason why Fred didn't get to tap nobody is because America said we picking the next person. That's number one. And you can look up who was his financiers. Who was giving him the power to move and shake and move around and control these people in the South? Who was doing that? Europeans. Before the compromise. The compromise was the ultimate signaling to white people, I ain't Fred. I'm not gonna be Fred. I'm not gonna move like Fred. I'm gonna be a pacifist, or what is the other one? Accommodationist, a slave. That's what an accommodation is. But hold up. I'll let you go.
Yes, sir.
The first thing is find out who was financing Booker. The second thing is read about the Mohawk Conference. Because all of those schools that we be so hype, Howard and Tuskegee, it was already a plan to put them together because we got to figure out how we gonna educate these niggas. We can't make them thinkers. The only reason they was mad at the boys because he was on some intellectual shit. We don't want y'all on the intellectual shit. We don't want y'all on that. Because Booker was the boys was a fucking Buckeye too. So the only reason why they didn't like him initially is because we don't want you making these people think that they can think. But then they was cool with it when he's like, well, we only gonna get a small percentage of them and make the talented tiff, because the way that white folks always stay in control is they create a small upper class to control everybody else. The Jay-Z's, the Beyoncés, people to aspire to believe that this shit can work for you. And they're gonna tell you that story too. So Booker was one of the first created leaders. Not saying that he ain't had the information, but he was a creative leader. And I'm going to tell you how far Booker took it before I let y'all go, because I can tell y'all more stories. Booker would do shit like, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to pale ball you.
Yeah.
What does pale balling mean? He would call all his white supporters and say, don't let this nigga right here get no work nowhere else in America. And it would work. Booker would try to tell people who the fuck they can marry. And if you didn't, I would call my folks, and you ain't going to be able to work nowhere in America. I'm going to just leave it at that. I could go on to more shit about why Booker is a fucking Buckeye in the context of all this shit. Because the funny thing about both of them was on some real shit, you were supposed to combine the two. And it wasn't supposed to be no small group of people doing it. So we should have had intellectuals and we needed artisans.
Yes.
We needed them. Not one versus the other. We need both. That's where Marcus came in at. Because he ain't fuck with the boys. But he was with the artisan shit. So he was like, we need to think. But we also need to be able to work with our hands to be independent. And the ancestors probably did it on purpose to make sure that they didn't meet.
I'm going to say this. One thing that he did say that we do find ourselves revisiting today, he told us not to leave the South. Like with them great migrations, whether we say it was a success, but we inherited ghettos and was scared to write letters back.
Yep.
Like when I read about the migration, it was many people that left the South thinking the big dreams of the city and get up here and was living in squalor and worse conditions, but was so humiliated and used all their savings to come north, was too afraid or ashamed, to write those letters back. Like, yo, it ain't all what it.
I'm not going.
But he warned us about that.
Yeah, I'm not a liar. I'm not one of those people that just to prove the argument, I'm gonna leave something out. He did understand one major important thing about emancipation. this is not really freedom. It's a changing of ownership.
Absolutely.
The North is trying to get the money.
Absolutely.
I'm a Southerner. This is what I know. So if I got to keep this money down here and get y'all to figure out how we can keep the money in the land and all that, because he was able to travel around America.
Yeah.
He's seen the development of the industrial North and slave wages. So you went from being a slave to slave wages, which is really the same thing.
Right.
Now, that's one thing I will say that he understood. I just don't agree with his strategy.
And you got to look at the army he was dealing with. You taking people, grown men who might not know their alphabet. One of the first lessons he taught at Tuskegee, if I'm not mistaken, was called the lesson of the toothbrush. So now you got, all these people want to learn. Before we can even do that, I got to teach you, listen, brush your teeth.
Brush it, yeah.
Do this, do that. So I'm dealing with a class of people who by condition and circumstances, that had to live out back in sheds or barns, didn't have shoes, didn't have clothes, were told all kind of things about themselves, and were just scared.
Right.
So now I'm taking you at 30, 40. The classroom got all different age people, and these are not children. These are men and women. You know what I'm saying? We trying to educate that ain't from
it's hard.
age. So you got to think he's building an army out of this.
No doubt. And
the strong point is, right, real fast, my strong point with them is to meet them where they was at. He was already making wagon wheels. He was already making horseshoes. This one was already. So let's stay on the trade.
Building houses.
With W.E.B. Du Bois said, no, the vote.
Right.
He said, no, let's build up our shit and then let them respect us. Kind of Black Wall Street style. You know what I mean?
No doubt. So this is PSA, Philly service announcement. Takeover Tuesday, takeover love, support, grace, social activism, resourcing out. Shout out to my brother. I love this boy.
Yeah.
Yo, listen, y'all don't even understand. I know y'all can feel the energy. And I got a lot of brothers. And we all dark skins like that.
They say,
but listen, what I will say, yo, that's a crazy joint. Like that motherfucker instantly asks for him or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? But if my breath's stinking, please tell me, yo. Please. And if some folks around you and their breath is stinking, tell them.
Yeah.
Tell them, man. Like, I know it's hard to tell somebody, like, yo, you're burning my nose hairs.
If you love me.
But if you really, I gotta start doing it. I gotta really start pulling. I tell people, but not enough. Cause how we gonna be in these meetings and this shit?
Mind expansion. Listen, if you ain't got no books, go get some.
Go get them.
You should treat your
treat
family.
Yourself to a book. Love yourself enough to know.
For Kwanzaa, give books for Kwanzaa. You don't gotta get no iPhone for $200-$300. You don't gotta go no Apple Watch.
$1,200, $1,300.
Books. Most books ain't gonna charge you past $20, but they last a lifetime. These are the books that help transform me and many men. These are just some of the books. You can go pick out books that you find the title interesting to yourself. Black and Noble. Shout out to Black and Noble on South Street. You feel me? Go check it out. They got a wide array of everything.
Read.
And read the book. So next time we talking about y'all.
Yeah, that shit. Listen,
tell a Pharaoh.
Getting identity came from reading, yo. And it changed my fucking life, man.
Mind expansion. These my books too, by the way. These is real books.
These real people
from
shit.
Inside.
But we gotta go for I'm gonna have to pay for another hour.
Right,
yo, Took, man, I appreciate you, brother. Seriously.
All right. Good job. Dang.
That's what we doing out here.
Dang. That was at the table and what happened? You feel me?
If they breath stink, tell them, please.
Good shit. Good work.
I wasn't going to do what you thought I was going to do, but we needed to put that out here.
Malcolm has told the